MyraWilliams.com, logging on to say the things. I know the holidays can be tough for so many reasons. I know that life can feel tough for so many reasons. And I know that sometimes trying to get all the apps open, give me a second, guys. I know that sometimes um, it can feel like things are never going to get any better. And it really feels like, I mean, it's true that the holidays can intensify this feeling. If my eyes look crazy, I'm using two different devices. Um, so just listen and know that what you are meant to hear, you will hear clearly and really like receive, is my intention. It can be so important for us to realize that the holidays can be harder for some of us than others. And during the holidays, oftentimes, old grief, old trauma can resurface. Unresolved things that may have happened in our childhood can resurface, and it can feel harder. Those of us who have, um, depression, PTSD, any kind of like trauma based mental health, psychological injury kind of thing, certain times of the year can be harder for us than others. And all of us have our own triggers, our own family dynamics, our own stressors, right? We can have just so many things. I've been on calls this month with clients, um, friends, people who are reflective this time of year and feel like I haven't gotten to where I want to be yet. And I feel frustrated by that. I feel like it's never going to happen for me. I feel like I'm behind, right? I've said myself, like, I feel behind. I didn't meet some of my goals. I feel frustrated by that. All of that can intensify. And many people talk about this idea of like new levels, new devils, expansion pain, ascension pain when you're growing and you're elevating, or you're just trying to like make it out of a bad situation, or you're trying to create a different life than what you had as a kid. That um, learning curve, that quantum leap that has to happen in your nervous system is so hard and challenging. For so many of us, healing our own trauma that we experienced as kids or as people of color, or put in like your identifying information, right? This applies to anyone who's experienced trauma, but especially people who may not have had the same privileges, the same protections. When you're trying to create something and you didn't have like a running start to do it, creating that impact in your life, in your relationships, in your finances, in your education, in your psychology, it can be exhausting. You can be overcoming like so many things that it feels like maybe other people had a head start in doing. And mental health doesn't discriminate, right? Anyone can have um, mental health challenges. I don't even want to say challenges, but anyone can have traumas that have happened that impact how we feel, our chemicals in our brains, all sorts of things can be impacted. And so, what I want to say is that it's so important to understand that life is not meant to be alone. And I know so many of you know that. And this is a reminder for anyone who needs a reminder. Life is not meant to be done alone. And what that um, can mean is like not just people around you, like friends or family or, your children, or it means we really need like a village, an actual village of people that support us, right? And I know that sometimes access and privilege, and things like healthcare and mental health care, access can really impact this. But we're not meant to do all of the things on our own when it comes to our mental health. I think that sometimes it can be so challenging to deal with all of the things that we have to deal with in our life and be like on this treadmill of trying to take care of ourselves mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. And sometimes it can feel easier. We tell ourselves to do all of the things and be all of the things in our own strength. And that's not how I believe it's supposed to be. It's important to remind ourselves that, hi, Stephanie, that we were meant to believe and to anchor and to root into something that's bigger than we are. And this isn't about me trying to tell you what you need to believe in. But what I feel is important to know is that no matter what accomplishments we have, no matter how many goals we chase, no matter how many of them we achieve, no matter how much money is or is not in our bank account, no matter how many amazing accolades we create, when we do not feel rooted and grounded to something that's bigger than us, when the winds of life are going to come, and they're going to come for all of us, right? It's easy to feel like it's too much. I can't do this. It's not working. And I am in no way minimizing the burden that mental health sensitivities have on our thinking. I'm not minimizing psychological injury and how that impacts how we think. Hi, love. Hi, Michelle. But what I am saying is that we cannot deal with it in our own strength. And so tapping into, I believe for me, it's God, something that's bigger than you, spirit, divine, if you call it the universe, whatever you call it, it's important to tap into it, but especially for a source of strength. And I believe that practice, a spiritual practice, is so important. It's so necessary. However, you define that for you. Some people, it's prayer. Some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's, communing in nature and really feeling at peace and at one with all living beings, right? Whatever it is for you, it's important to make space for it in your life, and especially when things feel hard. And that's especially when it can feel like, why bother? I'm not doing this. It's so important. For years, I worked in addictions treatment. And so I was an addictions therapist for years and a trauma therapist. And so what I really began to understand is that so often, like fellowship meetings, AA and NA, and Overeaters Anonymous, all of these different communities support each other because they have conscious contact. They have weekly, sometimes daily, like meetings in terms of someone's available for you to share your truth with, to share your vulnerability with, to share where you're struggling, to share where you feel like you messed up, to share when you need help, to share if you have relapsed and need to go to the hospital, or go back to rehab, or just go into a hospital setting to like make sure your things are okay within yourself. Like there's a real place to be transparent and to not have to pretend it's all together if it's not. And I often think that we so often need that in our own life, a place, a community to share when we are struggling, when we need help, right? Like not necessarily crisis support, but a place where you can do life with someone, because life is going to happen and we have to anchor into something that is stronger, than we are, that thinks higher than we think, right? That really makes us keep how we feel and what we think and our desires and our defense mechanisms and all of the things in perspective. So often, we begin to drown when we feel alone, when we feel stuck in our own shame story, in our own trauma loops, in our own trying to do it in our own strength. And so I want to support you today with a couple of things. If you are struggling and you need um, permission to ask for help. Permission granted to ask for help. And sometimes that can simply mean a text to someone you care about or the suicide prevention line, right? And just sharing, I'm not okay. Right. And for people who don't feel like they have someone they can physically text and share that with, these free hotlines are important because sometimes a single thought can change how you think. A single thought can change your perspective in realizing it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to feel like you are dying inside. I've had more of those days than I would like to admit. And what I've learned about grief and about trauma, resolution, and healing and integration is that these emotions are like a wave, and we have to learn to ride the waves. And sometimes that's going to mean like you're floating, you're not trying to swim in a riptide. You simply need to float and master and harness all of your energy in allowing yourself to float until you can get out of the riptide and make your way to safety. The same is true in our emotional life with our emotional terrain. Sometimes we are literally dying inside, and everybody around us thinks that we're fine. For high functioning people, for people that wear this like Superman, Superwoman, super person cape, you think things are fine with them, right? The strong friend. I love when I see these videos and memes of content creators, coaches, right? Talking like all of us saying, check on your strong friends because it's so important. We do everything right, and people think that we're fine and that things are good, and we're meditating and we're working out and everything is well, when that's not always the truth. And so I am giving you permission to ask for help even if you don't want to, even if you think you don't deserve it, even if you think um, you're not good enough or you've messed up or like you're done talking about it, like you're done dealing with it, it's okay for you to still ask for help. Sometimes we just need to be willing to ask for help one more time from our higher power, from someone who cares about us. Sometimes we are best able to move through a wave of emotion. And a wave can last for minutes, days, weeks, months, years, right? When it tends to last, days, weeks, right? We really need to assess what kind of treatment we are needing. Do we need to be working with a trauma therapist, right? A psychiatrist that is trained in trauma, that understands medications and how they work with different ethnicities, right? With different genders, even. There's a real science behind some of this, and there are tools that can help you get the best support for you. There's now testing based on your genetics. You can use Ancestry or 23andMe to get your own genetic report to see what kinds of vitamins and enzymes that you need to best support your journey physically, and mentally, emotionally, right? There's testing, there's like swab testing that can happen in your mouth to see what kinds of medications would best support your genetic profile. I've helped my clients to do these kinds of testing for years to make sure they're on the best medications for them and their genetics, right? There's so many somatic approaches that can help you heal your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, things that you can do at home yourself, things that you can partner with different practitioners to get support with. But I really want to help people grow and heal and like recover from trauma in an accessible way. And so I am I've decided to stop procrastinating with really a community for people that who choose to do um, deeper trauma work, who want accountability, who want community, who want practical skills and tools that can support their everyday recovery, their everyday being human, their everyday figuring shit out and trying to be okay when for so long maybe things were not okay. I will be sharing lots of free content with different tools and practices around how you can help your body recover and move through um, how our bodies react and respond to trauma that's old, that's new, and how it impacts how we think, how we feel, how we make our decisions, how we sometimes are operating from this old blueprint, from this old way of thinking and being that was created and rooted in trauma and keeps reliving that out when it is a script that can be shifted, that can be turned off, that can be reprogrammed and realigned in a different way, in a way where we're sourcing from our own wholeness and not this pattern, this blueprint of trauma. We don't need to keep losing people to suicide and mental health um, because the disease is ravishing and there are ways to support ourselves through it. There's absolutely no shame. I know there's a lot of stigma sometimes, but there's no shame in us understanding that our mental health and our emotional health and our spiritual health needs as much, if not more, attention as our physical health. When we put the proper emphasis on emotional and mental and spiritual health, we directly impact our physical health. And I don't know how we can take care of physical, mental, or emotional without bringing spirituality into it. And I think that for some of us who believe that, we don't talk about it as much because we're afraid of like backlash or stigma or whatever it is. Luana, you're so welcome. Yes, Carrie, I see you. Um, we have to talk about spirituality. I left traditional therapy a setting because I did not believe that we could heal trauma without spirituality. And I believe that with my whole heart and soul, being a survivor of um, severe trauma myself, childhood trauma, and making the choice to do the inner work to heal that, I don't believe that we can heal those deep levels of pain without spirituality. There are pioneers in the field who came into the field as atheists who realized after studying trauma and the body of work that is trauma that they believed that the people who were able to heal and move forward with their lives in positive, productive, whole ways were only able to do that with both, spirituality and Eastern medicine and Western medicine, and really learning how to heal their nervous system. And I think it's important for those of us who really understand and believe that spirituality um, is more than just religion. It's more than just rules and ritual and like regulation and social construct. It's your inner relationship with the higher power of your understanding. And we can make it more complicated than that, but it doesn't need to be. And so when you find that you're losing hope in yourself, your situation, your health, your mental health ever improving or life ever getting any better, I'm encouraging you to lean into an power greater than our physical body and our physical understanding. And understand that sometimes the most simple prayer that we can pray is, please help me. Please help me see this differently. Please help me move through this. Please help me. Thank you, is all you need to say. And allow your next steps to come to you, what they should be. Even if that's a drink of water, asking a friend for help, calling a suicide prevention line, right? Reaching out to someone in your life to say, I'm not okay. Maybe I need to go to a hospital for some time and figure out what needs to happen so that I can be healthy in all ways. But there's no shame in asking for help and receiving the help that you need, whatever that looks like. I love you so much. I have to hop off for a client call, but I will be back to share with you more about the community, how you can support it, how you can share it, so that we can all do our own part in helping people not feel so alone and without communities to do the work of living and recovering and thriving together. Thank you for being here. If it was helpful, share with a friend, share with someone that you care about. And if you have any energy to spare today, please pray for someone else. Everybody is needing a little extra love and support these days. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. Bye for now.